Bless you. This is the Reverend Dr. Gilberto Rosado. Dios lo bendiga. Este es Reverendo Dr. Gilberto Rosado. Welcoming you to another broadcast. At this hour, we have our bilingual broadcast, our teaching in English and Spanish. So we ask that you be patient as we translate live on the fly between languages. Esta es la hora que damos la enseñanza en inglés y español y pedimos que tengas pues paciencia mientras que traduzcamos de un idioma al otro. Aproveche y aprende el otro idioma. While we're at it, you can learn the other language as well. Es un beneficio de sintonizarse con nuestro ministerio. It's a benefit, an added benefit, I should add, of tuning in to our ministry. Amen, and God bless you. Just get these things here arranged a little bit. Oh, that was okay there. God bless you, and welcome to our teaching today. Dios le bendiga. Bienvenido a nuestra enseñanza de hoy. Today we continue on in the Holy series, but we're taking a brief moment to focus in on education. So it's for the last 2 or 3 teachings, ending last season before the summer break, and continuing now with the last lesson and today. We're looking closely at that relationship between education and holy, and what holy is, Kodesh, and making comparisons to the history of the world, education, the history of education, which we did last week, finalizing with the Chinese, how that correlated more or less with the time that Israel was coming out of Egypt. So we see that the timing of God is right precisely as we discussed before, at the time where education was beginning to develop on the world stage. And so Israel is taken out of captivity and given instruction right at that pivotal moment in time. And so that's a thing that we need to pay close attention to. And so today we're going to go into to look further into the contributions that the Jewish people have made throughout history. Now, also understand that this is post-fail. Okay, these are contributions made not within the scope of holy. Right? We're talking about now after the tribes were divided up and were sent into captivity and all sorts of mayhem. After that, what were the Jewish contributions? You see, and we're not talking about the tribes here. The tribes were lost, the lost tribes of Israel, all that. But yet we're still going to look at what contributions were had anyhow to qualify and perhaps quantify the impact of God's instruction, the Kodesh given to Israel, the instruction Torah, and quantify the impact of that educational capsule, which we were talking about before, that God gave Israel a cognitive capsule structure so that the reasoning in the brain can develop in a way to provide exceptional, excellent modeling, modeling priesthoodness, kingdom of priests, and a holy nationness for all of Israel, to whom? To all the world. At that precise moment and during the development of the educational impetus and readiness that was evident in the developing world, because we're going by the time, the history, you see. So we're going to try today to look at and try to make some correlations and make some hypotheses, or to apply possible what ifs. What if Israel did not fail God? What if the pact, the covenant, was not broken? And what if holiness, the Holy Kodesh, was understood the way God was teaching it through Moses, because that's the first instance? What if Israel had done as God had commanded and gleaned the understanding that they were supposed to glean? What if? What would have happened? Okay. Ahora en español, no en Spanish. Nosotros hemos estado estudiando cómo los judíos, cómo la palabra Kodesh en su significado divino, lo que Dios enseñó a Moisés, o sea, no verbalmente le dijo esto es lo que Kodesh quiere decir, porque sabemos que Kodesh vino del amorita. Eso ya se ha descubierto en este verano pasado, un poquito antes se reveló al público. Así que, ¿qué es lo que Dios? O sea que vamos a ver los efectos, el impacto de Kodesh como enseñanza, como la instrucción, como Torah. Lo que quiere decir son instrucciones para educación. Por eso son Kodesh, por eso son santos. Y entonces, ver qué hubiera sucedido si Israel sí entendía, sí lo tomó bien, correcto, lo que Dios estaba enseñando. ¿Qué hubiera sido diferente? Exponiendo, o sea, extrapolando, se dice, vamos a extrapolar, extrapolate, vamos a extraer y de lo que los judíos, lo que se conocen como judíos en la historia, qué fue lo que ellos hicieron, lo que ellos contribuyeron a la educación, al desarrollo de la civilización moderna. Y entonces hacer un análisis, o sea, estirarlo a ver si fuese que todo Israel estuviera mantenido junto, obedeciendo a Dios, entendiendo la enseñanza de Dios, para ser los sacerdotes, un reino de sacerdotes y una nación santa, educacional para todo el mundo. Porque ya hemos visto que el tiempo que Dios los sacó de Egipto era preciso. It's the precise moment. I don't want to keep you guys too long, but holding for your translation. It's a precise moment when God takes them out, where education is being developed, donde la educación se está desarrollando en el mundo. Es un momento preciso. Pero que Israel no fue fiel al pacto, but Israel did not prove faithful to the covenant. And what we're going to see, y lo que vamos a ver es analizar qué hubiera sido. What would have been the difference if Israel had understood the covenant, si Israel estuviera entendiendo el pacto y manteniendo el pacto, maintaining the covenant, and exercising or performing the role of priests to the world, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. y si hubieran sido fiel al papel de ser una nación, un reino de sacerdotes y una nación santa hacia todo el mundo, porque todo tierra es mía, dijo Jehová, because all the earth is mine, the Jehovah said, right? And we know that was a clarification of why they were peculiarly a treasure for God over all others, right? That was the clarification of that. Y era una clarificación de por qué Jehová dijo que Israel era un tesoro especial, en inglés peculiar, sobre todo los demás pueblos, sobre todo la demás gente. Y la clarificación, porque toda la tierra es mía, right? So, because all the earth is mine, he says. It's not only Israel. And we've already shown that, God made that specific statement that it proves that it is not only Israel. It's not about only Israel here. The instructions, yes. But the purpose of the instructions are for everyone. But the instructions were specifically for the children of Israel. Así que los hijos de Israel son los recipientes de la instrucción en particular. Pero el propósito o el ende de tal instrucción es, o sea, en entendimiento. Eso es el ende de instrucción. Okay, because you guys got to understand one thing. You guys got to get it through your heads already. Instructions are not the goal. Okay, that's not the end. You just don't get it. It's the religious mind frame that gets you stuck in wrong ideas. La mentalidad religiosa te hace frisar en ideas erróneas, porque nunca es la instrucción lo final. Nunca una instrucción, el propósito de la instrucción nunca es la instrucción. So it's never a purpose of the instruction. The instruction is not the goal. The instruction is the path to reach the understanding. And that understanding at the end of that instruction, that's the goal of it. It's not the instruction itself. But we see that people with religious ideas, you keep focusing on instruction, that is the goal in itself, to do the instruction. This is the instruction. This is it. Nothing else. No, there is a lot else. The whole thing else is missing. And when you're freezing it only on the instruction, then you are doing a disservice, not only to yourself, but to the world, because God's purpose to the world is frustrated by that focus, that limiting focus on the instruction. Now, who would have devised such a limitation? You have to understand that ¿quién hubiera descubierto o hecho beneficio, tomado a ventaja de que las instrucciones. You have to understand, when there's a thing called like the devil out there, Satan, who fooled a third of the angels in heaven. Come on now. Usted tiene que entender que la Biblia habla de Satanás, de diablo. El que engañó una tercera parte de los ángeles de Dios en el cielo. Él no era bruto tratar de hacer lo que hizo, okay, pero no es bruto en comparación con los hombres, muy sagaz. To men, in the heavens, of course, he was an idiot for trying to be something he couldn't be, or he wasn't. He was created by God. He was trying to be God. Crazy, right? But don't take that to mean that the devil is less than you, because he is very, very wise in terms of very clever. I don't use the word wise with him, but he's very clever compared to human beings. All right, he can throw a few loops around you. So don't ever think that you got it all on the devil. Never think that one, because the devil, he knows how to take advantage of things. So when he sees God with his Torah giving instructions, no es ver Dios dando Torah, instrucciones al hombre. El diablo sabía suficiente ciencia para decir, aquí es un chance de engañar al hombre. See, he saw a way to deceive man, to rob man of what God's purpose was. And he did it easily with religion. Y lo hace fácilmente con religión. Right? Because remember, all the other pagans had what? Religion. Were they right? No. So all the devil had to do with Israel was to make them take God's Torah and turn it into a religion. That's it. And it isn't hard because they came out of Egypt. Egypt was religion, the religious capital of the world. And it was an easy thing. It's not hard. Okay? So no era difícil que el diablo engañase a Israel, porque era sencillamente establecer de la Torah de Dios, las instrucciones de Dios, religión. Sencillo. See, when God wasn't trying to give them religion, and we already showed you in teachings past, plain and simple, I'll give you the chapter to look at, and you can find if you have a brain. In Exodus 20, it has the 10 Commandments, but you keep reading. And near the end of that chapter, you're going to see where God tells them, don't make a religion out of this. That's all I'll tell you. You'll have to use your noodle. When you see it, you'll realize, oh, wait a minute. What does this instruction actually mean? That's the one. Where God tells them, this is not a religion. Don't make this a religion. Through the instruction, not that he tells them that. Así que a través de la instrucción ahí en Éxodo 20 ustedes lo buscan, porque ya lo he enseñado en varios instantes. Que Dios pues le indica a través de la instrucción, no haga de esto una religión. Usted lo mira, Éxodo 20 casi al final. La instrucción que Dios le da es lo mismo, o sea, es lo mismo que decir no haga de esto una religión. Esto no es religión. Alright, así que tú lo buscas y usted verá. Pero entonces lo único que tenía que hacer el diablo era hacerlo una religión, porque haciéndolo, convirtiéndolo en una religión, frisa la mente. O sea que lo que Dios está diciendo no es para comprender, sino es para obedecer. Y punto. Y esa actitud, esa manera de mirar las cosas es religioso, pero es errada a lo que refiere a Jehová Dios, no a los demás religiones. Porque en términos de religiones del mundo, eso es lo que se hace. So in terms of the religions of the world, regarding the instructions that God gave and obeying them simply with nothing more is a religious practice. It is religious practice. It's the same thing is done by every religion on the planet that ever existed, and those that existed before Israel came together. It was the same thing. Obey the rule, obey the laws. And so that is a religious practice. Did that come from God? No. Eso no es una idea de Dios. La idea de eso es idea de los hombres. That's an idea of men. That's a religious concept. But it's not, but we already showed Exodus 20 near the end. God is saying don't. He's showing through an instruction he gave that this is not a religion. Now, if you have brains, you'll see it. If you don't see it, you need to keep watching this channel. Because you're not understanding, and that's a dangerous thing. Okay, that means you're susceptible to any deception out there. I'm giving you a chance to look in the Bible and, let the light bulb light up, and that'll prove it to yourself. It'll prove it to you, and congratulations if it does. And if it doesn't, better keep listening in and get yourself some learning. Así que si no te prende el bombillo con ver eso en Éxodo 20 casi al final, que Dios elimina la opción de convertir lo que Él está diciendo a una religión, si tú no lo ves, entonces tú tienes que seguir nuestro ministerio para que te educas, ¿entiendes? Y si tú lo ves, entonces congratulaciones a usted. Usted tiene cerebro, mijo. Y eso es lo importante, que usted ve la realidad en la palabra de Dios. Y sí, eso es muy importante, porque hay mucha gente hablando de esto otro, pero ¿quién está enseñando en realidad lo que la palabra está trayendo? En realidad, porque no es solamente lo que la Biblia dice, mijo. So it's not, you got to look at who's really bringing you the teaching of the scriptures, because it's not just what the scripture says, right? And then they go twisting this and that and telling you what this means, this and that, blah, blah, blah. That is not what it's about. It's about when you see clearly that God is saying don't do something that everybody else is doing, that's in a religion. And without it, basically, you don't have a religion, okay? So when God tells you not to do that, then what is He saying? It's just a simple 2 plus 2 here. So sencillamente Dios está diciendo no haga algo que todas las demás religiones están haciendo. Entonces, si Dios te dice no hagas lo que todas las demás religiones están haciendo, pues entonces no es una religión. Eso es lo que está diciendo. That's it. Esto no es religión. All right, so, and again, in the backdrop of that, this is not a religion, don't get frozen here with instructions. Education is beginning to develop in the world. See, that's the backdrop, so you got to understand, that's the context. To the Hebrew, everybody in the Hebrew, this and that, they always emphasize you got to go by the context. Well, the context of Israel coming out of Egypt is that, and God giving them instructions and telling them that they would be the priests, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And now that we know what holy means, and the backdrop, what is it? The backdrop is that at this very moment, education is becoming a developing reality in the world. That's what's happening. That's the context. And now we get to see the whole picture. Ahora tenemos que entender que el contexto en la cual Israel está siendo sacado de Israel, el contexto, porque eso es lo importante en hebreo, el contexto. Pues el contexto de esto es que Dios está sacando a Israel en un momento que la educación se está desarrollando en el mundo. Está desarrollando en el mundo. Y Dios, entonces, recuerda, esto, si obedece mi voz y guardan mi pacto, seréis un reino de sacerdotes. Que todo el mundo es un sacerdote, pero sabe que el sacerdote necesita gente para ser sacerdote. No pueden ser sacerdote uno a otro. Y una nación santa. Y ya sabemos lo que santa quiere decir, que es una nación de enseñanza. ¿A quién? Si todo el mundo en la nación sabe, ¿a quién están enseñando? Toda la tierra es mía. Es Éxodo 19, léelo. So you see in Exodus 19, who is they're going to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Who are they going to teach? And all the earth is mine. Exodus 19. So you have to read that's the preamble to the Ten Commandments, man. The preamble to God's instruction. Remember, when that was happening, there was no Torah yet, right? The Torah was written after. So God is preparing them to receive the first instructions, which was the codified instruction, which was the Ten Commandments, right? And from there, the development of the law, right? The instructions. So, but understand, what is the backdrop? See, the time and the backdrop. Very important. El tiempo y el contexto. The backdrop is the context, right? It's the context of everything that's happening for Israel. So that's what God is doing. He's not just focused on Israel. He's also why was Israel coming out at that moment? That's the question you got to answer for yourself. ¿Por qué Dios lo está sacando en ese momento? See? So it's there's no coincidences in God. En Dios no hay coincidencia. So it's overwhelming evidence. Es una evidencia sobresaliente de que en el mundo se está, ya la semana pasada, vean los otros videos, la semana pasada y la última antes del descanso de veranal, usted ve que yo doy la fecha de Israel saliendo de Egipto, la fecha de educación en China, la fecha de educación aquí y allá, cuando estaba esa motivación de empezar, la necesidad de empezarlos. Usted va a ver que el contexto es competitivo. And what the context is competitive. Why did God bring them out at that moment? Because it was the competitive moment. It was the moment where Israel could come out and have a what you call it, a great advantage over all the other nations developing education. Era el momento que Israel podía salir de Egipto con una ventaja grande sobre todas las demás naciones que estaban desarrollando su educación. Dicho sea, o sea, lo que está pasando es que ya las naciones estaban ya preparándose cognitivamente, mentalmente, que podían sentarse y tomar clase, entender y razonar. Y en esto Dios saca a Israel y le da el Torah, le da ley, instrucción. Y si las instrucciones hubieran ellos extrapolado, entendido y sacado el jugo de esas instrucciones, intelectualmente hablando, Israel hubiera sido el más inteligente de todas las naciones, lo más sobresaliente de todas las naciones, temprano. You know, if they had extrapolated, if they had taken God's instruction right at that moment and had developed and enveloped it and digested it and understood and extrapolated from it in every direction, in every academic, every pathway of thought and science and math and what have you, Israel would have been the axiom of intelligence and the most advanced nation in all the world. That's what they would have had, because that's what God gave them. Porque eso es lo que Dios le dio. Dios le dio lo más avanzado de inteligencia, de educación, de entendimiento en la ley, en su Torah, encapsulada. Se tenía que digerir, se tenía que procesar y no quedarse nada más con instrucciones, sino extrapolar y soltarse, aplicarlo en todas las esferas académicas, en todas las esferas de pensamiento humano. Y hubieran sido ellos lo más avanzado en el mundo, en todas cosas. They would have been greatly excellent, excelling greatly in every field. And I dare say be the discoverers, the inventors, the trendsetters, the founders of great many things that today we enjoy in modern day life, and probably even further than that. I believe that they would have made greater advances still. Humanity is suffering to some degree from the lack of Israel's excellence integrally in it, as originally planned by God, or at least put in there by God. It's questionable what the plan was, because the plan includes obviously what he knew would happen, right? So, but if it had gone the way it was, Israel could have had it go, I should say, then we're talking about something different. Today's world and its attributions would have been very much different, and I think that's safe to say. Y podemos pensar, o voy a especular, que la historia en el mundo de las contribuciones, de las atribuciones de invención, de descubrimiento, de la ciencia, de la educación, de la matemática, de todo lo que hay en lo que se llama ciencia y conocimiento, hubiese sido distinto en muchas maneras, más caritativa, quizás más. Yo estoy hablando que quizás ya el cáncer estuviese ya curado. Yo puedo imaginar que hasta ese nivel, I can imagine that even to the degree that cancer would have been already a thing of the past already. Right now, I venture to say, if Israel had been faithful to the covenant and had extrapolated, had realized what holy actually meant, and had extrapolated from all the instructions God gave it, and become the leaders in all fields, including medicine. And I have no doubt that all those brilliancy that the instructions of God would have produced in a nation of priests. See that? Nation of priests, not just a few priests here every few years, but a nation, everyone, a priest, would have been marvelous and more qualitatively effective. That I can say that these still yet uncured diseases would have been already cured, and and I know for a fact. This I know for a fact, absolutely. The social ills in the world would have been resolved. That I know for a fact. Okay, because I study on that, and it's from there that I created the 343 initiative, right? Something that's still starting up because everyone's hard-headed, but that I have proven through the data that can solve society's main issues, and we have done a study on that, and we have proven that. So, and the secret to that, or the keys to that, is directly from Torah. Así que del Torah yo saqué las claves de la iniciativa 343, yo comprobé que en términos de los problemas mundiales de sociedad, el hambre, la pobreza, el desolamiento, se dice, el que no tiene hogar para vivir, desajolamiento, algo así. Qué cosa. Pero ese problema hubiera sido ya eliminado. Yo lo probé. Hice la examinación en pantalla en uno de estos domingos, yo quizás dos o 3 años atrás. Y con eso yo empecé de 343 iniciativa, que todavía lo estamos desarrollando. No es fácil porque la gente ya tiene su mentalidad en otras cosas, en otros sistemas, pero que todavía el problema persiste. Sí, ese es el problema. So anyway, pero si hubiera sido los judíos, Israel, que hubiera extrapolado de Torah esa solución, ya estuvieran estas cosas solucionadas. Recuerde ese tiempo. Yo estoy con esta solución ahora. Y ahora es difícil de cambiar la mente de la gente. Pero si Israel hubiera hecho eso antes era más fácil. Porque estaba desarrollando la sociedad todavía. See, if Israel had extrapolated that concept that I did now, back when, it was easier for them to impact society. Now I'm a little thing trying to change this mountain of set ideas and programs and things like that in the wake of the fact that Israel wasn't there. If Israel was there and had done it way back then, we wouldn't have these problems today. So that's the thing. So I know it because I'm coming in from the back end and I'm seeing, wow, it's like this uphill climb because all of this time has passed and people were trying to do it this way, that way, different ways, but all of that has formulated mountains of resistance to the way God had given Israel to fix this problem in the first place. So that's something that I have seen myself. See, because I'm not talking about things, abstract things that I don't know. I know what I'm saying. I know what I see. Okay. So I'm speaking from experience. I'm not just talking out the top of my head. Okay. So, a lot of people will criticize, no, it's not this, it's not that, but you haven't done it. See, you don't have the solution. But yet you're quick to judge because you're depending on, how the earth, the Eretz, has figured things out. And the abstensia, or without the Israel input from an Israel that doesn't exist, in turn, that would have obeyed God and thought and processed the laws of God, the instruction of God, in a way that would have given them a great and profound understanding of how to solve these problems. See? So so there's a lot of half effective or lackluster programs or societal responses to these problems, but the only true solution to them is what I have, and I get it from Torah. Right, but now it should have been there before. Is my point. If they had done it before, Israel's coming out of Egypt, and they get it. They get what God is trying to do. It's like si Israel hubiera salido de Egipto y entendido lo que Dios está tratando de hacer, y ellos hubieran implementado los claves que yo uso con el 343 para eliminar los problemas de la sociedad, ellos hubieran hecho eso. Ellos hubieran sido los mayores, los excelentes en eliminar eso en todo Israel y en todos los contornos y enseñando a las naciones cómo se arregla este problema. Y la sociedad orientales hubiesen oriental y occidental o occidentales hubieran desarrollado usando esa filosofía, ese método, ese sistema, esa estructura, y no hubiéramos tenido una sociedad con esos problemas hoy día. Eso es lo que quiero. Estos son cosas impactantes. These are in things that impact society when it gets to be established in society. And of course, the ones that could have made it so, taken from the Torah, was Israel. They're the ones that could have made it so. But they dropped the ball. See, and then once they dropped the ball, everybody else, the Gentiles, were doing what the Gentiles always do. They develop their things, and slowly but surely they do this, they do that, and this makes sense. They try that, fails, or they try this, try something else. And so at the end result, you have a lot of programs in society and whatnot, but still we are totally unaware, like the Democrats said. I don't want to go into politics right now, but the Democrat barber that I was speaking to at one point, he said, I don't know what the answer is, he says. And I told him, that's the problem. That's a problem. See, but I do know the answer. I do know the solution, and I have it, right? But they don't, not that the Democrats, but people who have already a set idea and there's no solution because they haven't thought about it. They just don't accept that I have it, but I do. Okay, and I have it because of Torah, because of Jehovah, because of the God who created the heavens and the earth. That's why I got the solution. All right, so yeah. Anyway, this makes a difference. So even in my first analysis, as this has turned out to be, looking at the issue of poverty, homelessness, and hunger, I can tell you for a fact that Israel was given the answer in Torah. Absolutely. I can tell you that as a fact. So, and we can then say, y usted puede decir por seguro, absolutamente cierto, que en relación al hambre, a la pobreza y al desalojamiento, en términos de esas tres cosas, Dios había dado a Israel la solución y la prevención en Torah. Eso te lo puedo decir con 100% de certidumbre. So that's one thing. If you're a Jew or you know a Jew, or you can mark it up, ding ding, for the Jews or for the Israel in totality, that's one thing all of you would have solved. And this world would not know about that type of thing. It would be a thing in history. Before Israel came, there was this and that and blah, blah, blah. But once Israel became the great star, and that all that went away. See? So that was a thing of the past. At one time that existed, but no longer. See? Because of what Israel did, what Israel created here, what Israel taught. That would have been different. Absolutely. So that's one thing I can say 100% sure of that. Let's go into some other considerations here on our screen. Alrighty. Now, I did a Google search as usual. I did the Jewish contributions because, of course, we can't say Israel's contributions, right? It's another thing that if Israel had stayed faithful to the covenant, si Israel estuviera fiel al pacto, hubiera puesto aquí contribuciones de Israel a través de la historia. No podemos. So we can't say the contributions of Israel throughout history. We only have, historically speaking, some historical frame of reference, good or bad. It's all that we have. We're saying Jewish contributions. Okay, it's not all the 12 tribes, right? But at least there were some tribes that survived. Judah, particularly. And even though they were able to come back after captivity and reestablish and whatnot, whatever the history is, we're not going to get into those details because there's a lot of them, right? But at least it's something that's traceable as Jewish throughout history. And the group of people, if they are or are not true Jews, as some groups would speculate or tell you that they're not, and others that they are, and whatnot, that doesn't matter, because that's not the point. The point is the Torah impacting? What is the impact of Torah in terms of holiness, in terms of education and understanding? Is it something that can we trace some type of benefit from Torah upon this nation and culture? So that's the issue that we're looking at here. So it really does, all the other details don't matter that much in that consideration. Lo que estamos viendo no es que si son judíos o no. Si son judíos reales, no son reales. Lo que importa es si están obedeciendo Torah en su completamente. Y si están obedeciendo Torah completamente, habrá algún impacto de lo que yo digo es el propósito de Torah, que era la educación. Porque less brilliant minds, on the regular standard minds. See, which doesn't make sense if you look at Exodus 19, where God says that it will be a nation of priests. Oh, everyone would be a priest. It means that everyone would have what? A brain. And when I say a brain, I'm meaning that everyone would be brilliant. So the intention of God was that everyone be brilliant in Israel. La intención de Dios era que todo el mundo fuese brillante en Israel. Now, I've talking a lot, but I haven't showed you the text that I'm talking about. I'm referring to it. I know a lot of you know it. Sé que muchos de ustedes saben lo que estoy diciendo, saben que está en la Biblia, pero como estamos enseñando Biblia, vamos a enseñar Biblia, right? So let's just show it to you because you guys understand, so you can get an understanding basically of why we're saying what we're saying. So he says, now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. Serás un pueblo especial, right? Un tesoro especial sobre todos los demás naciones, porque toda la tierra es mía, for all the earth is mine. And there's another benefit of the Torah, and ye shall be a kingdom of priests. Now the priests were the smartest ones. You have to understand that. In any of the nations so far, in any nation, in Egypt, in any nation in the world at that time, the priests were the guys who knew stuff. They were the intelligent group. En cualquier nación en este tiempo, los sacerdotes eran la gente más inteligente que había. Conocían muchas cosas. And if there was ever a person that was intelligent enough, they would have been, pushed into, moved into the priesthood, because that's where they should be. Another priest sees this kid who is, pretty sharp. He's like, oh, you are a bright child. I'm going to speak to your mother to have you come into the preschool. You should be one of us. That's how it worked. That's the way it would happen. Unless it was a caste thing, you would have had that happening. And there's indication that would happen. Because even in the Bible, you see in the instances like of Joseph, right? He was a stranger, came from outside, yet he was the dream sayer, and he was brought into the court. And then you see Daniel, same type of thing. He was able to know what the dream was and interpret it. So he was an outsider. He's from an enemy people who were captured for slaves, and he was brought into the court. So that it shows you that the issue of priests and advisors to the kings, to the pharaohs, they were open to anyone with a brain. That was a highly prized possession, asset for any king, any ruler to have. Yeah, another brain. This guy really knows what he's thinking. He really knows things. He has great understanding, great insight. Wonderful. So we know that, and when God is saying that this whole nation of Israel would be a kingdom of priests, that's what he's talking about, and a holy nation, understanding holy to me education. So everyone in Israel was supposed to be very intelligent. And how did God make that possible? Through the ingenious introduction of Torah for every man, woman, and child. See, everybody had to learn Torah and live it and have it be part of them, and then the process can begin. Así que todo el mundo aquí tenía que, it's like, I gotta put beyond here because these are important key things. It's like everyone had to be in college. Think about that. Children, men and women, everyone had to be in college, not just an educational system. It would have been. But the equivalent would be that everyone's in college, not learning at the same level, of course, but it's the same effort, the education. So in our terms today, the educational system. But no one would ever leave. The difference is that no one would ever graduate, you see. That's not, you see, the educational system in the world is that you go to a certain level and then you've done. Not in Israel, right? What God had for Israel is no. You're always doing this. You're always learning. You're always growing. So it was a perpetual educational contract, a learning contract that's for life. Now, anyone who went to college, you heard that before, didn't you? Así que esto era un contrato por la vida, por toda la vida. Uno empezaba y nunca dejaba ir a la escuela, a educarse, a desarrollar el entendimiento sobre las cosas que estaban enseñando. Nunca se dejaba. No como el mundo afuera, los paganos que tenían un nivel, llegaste, cumpliste, ya. A trabajar. No, no era eso con Israel. El plan de Dios con Israel es que estuviesen en la educación por toda la vida. Nunca lo dejaban. Y eso lo que quiere decir es que siempre iban a estar descubriendo, enseñando más, descubriendo más, inventando, enseñando. Todo. Era un ciclo de avances tecnológicas, educacionales, académicos, continuadamente. Wow, that's even more tremendous. Eso aún es más tremendo todavía. Now, most of the other schools, la mayoría de otras escuelas en el mundo tenían un sujeto y un término. So most of the other schools had a subject matter, like the schools of scribes, which were like almost the first schools to be had. And so they had a limit, a scope to their educational process, right? And they had a terminus, which is when you finish, and then you exercise your scribal duties. So that was the capacity of the outside world. But what God was doing with Israel, there ain't no finishing here. It's continual discovery, learning, and then discovery, then invention, then progress, and then continue teaching others. A continual machine of education. And that's what Israel was going to do. They were going to be the top on the get-go, and they were going to stay on top for the rest of the development of mankind and of the civilization. Ellos iban a ser los jefes, los primeros, los más avanzados y permanecer avanzados sobre todo la demás gente. Ser los maestros de todo el mundo, los sacerdotes de todo el mundo. Y eso era lo que Dios tenía planificado para el pueblo de Dios. Que los pueblos de Dios, y esto ahora aplica a todo el mundo que se piensa es un pueblo de Dios, era que el pueblo de Dios tiene que ser inteligente, enseñar a todo el mundo. See, it's because people don't understand what was happening here and what holy means, that you have all of these issues with churches today. Even the Gentile church, Christian church, whatever. You know, it's still religion. You still guys are doing religion. You didn't get it. You don't get it. No están entendiendo. Then you got people in church of all different, I have to say, I have to be truthful. You got dummies. You have people who don't have understanding, and it gives a bad name to the church. And that's what's going on, because you guys just don't understand what this thing was all about, what the purpose of it was. Or at least a side effect. Because somebody said, no, the purpose of it was to save man and get him into church and have him be saved. Yeah. But it wasn't for him to stay a dummy. Okay, because a dummy doesn't help anybody. Can't, because it doesn't know anything. He just becomes a fool that people point to. See, and these are the people he got in his church. Entonces, hay gente que no son educados y son malos ejemplos. Y la gente empieza a mirar, mira, ese que está en la iglesia tal, mira, es un bruto ahí, un estúpido. Right? Eso es lo que está pasando. Mucha iglesia de torpes. No le gusta, mira, si el zapato cabe, no fue mi culpa que no te educaste. Yo estoy tratando de educar. Tampoco ven este programa siempre. You know, I'm trying to teach you, but you don't listen to me all the time, do you? So it's really your fault. Don't get offended. It's your fault. Be offended at yourself. Why did you let yourself be that way? Because at the end of the day, it is your fault. En el fin del día es tu culpa que tú sigues siendo bruto y estúpido. Eso es tu culpa, no es la mía. Yo tengo jóvenes que saben que yo desde todos estudian, hagan bueno en la escuela, estudien. No jueguen los juegos de video, estudien. ¿Es verdad? No. Ahora si ya llegan a viejos y son brutos, van a culpar a la iglesia, a Dios. No, la culpa lo tiene ustedes. You know, I did my job. Yo hice mi trabajo. Yo le enseñé y le dije y le advertí. So I taught you guys, I warned you, and I warned you. So you can't blame me, you can't blame the church. You can't. You blame the church because you don't want to blame yourself. You're being a hypocrite. Si tú culpas a la iglesia porque tú estás siendo un hipócrita. Porque la iglesia te enseñó. La iglesia te advirtió. All right? So that is the thing. Eso es el punto ahora. All right. So this is it. You know, this is very clear. I think it's very clear. If you look at the context of history, it's going to be very clear to you. That this was indeed the main foci of God for Israel. Esto era el mayor enfoque de Dios para Israel. Okay? So again, you're not going to see, because people will say, okay, so then all I have to do is follow the law and then I'll get smart. La gente dirá, entonces todo lo que tengo que hacer es seguir la ley y entonces me hará inteligente. Y la respuesta es no. The answer to that is no. Forgive me, I have the little head cold I'm still coming out of. Y la razón por qué, porque el enfoque suyo es ley. Recuerden, el enfoque no puede ser la instrucción. Que eso fue lo que hizo Israel. So you're going to be repeating the same mistake that Israel did. See, when you think, well, let me do what God told Israel, let me do that. For whatever purpose, there's people doing that for religious reasons, saying that we have to do the same thing that God told Israel. So there's people who do that. Hay gente que piensan que nosotros tenemos que hacer lo mismo que Dios le enseñó a Israel. So hay gente que piensan así. Y también ahora que tú piensas que por obedecer la ley, porque como Dios lo dio a Israel, para ser inteligente, bueno, entonces yo me haría inteligente también. También es repetir lo mismo que hizo Israel, porque está haciendo el mismo error. And what's the same error that Israel did? So those those two people that are now saying, well, maybe it's good to follow the law then. Because what's happening is that you're putting the emphasis on the instruction. Okay, fine. It's like people say, well, then I should go to school because going to school I'll get smart. No. Hay gente que piensa que yendo a la escuela me voy a hacer inteligente. No. Yendo a la escuela no garantiza que tú vas a ser inteligente. Going to school doesn't guarantee that you're getting smart or intelligent. All it is going to school. People go to school and they don't really become intelligent. They may know a few things. They may learn how to do this, write their name, and and stuff like that, and have some type of low quality essay writing under their belt. But that's a far distance from being an intelligent person. Aprender a escribir, entender a hacer alguna matemática no te hace inteligente. Te hace un conocedor. It makes you a person that has some knowledge to whatever knowledge you can gain into. But knowledge is not intelligence. It's a difference. Hay una diferencia entre conocimiento e inteligencia. So hay gente que van al colegio y adquieren mucho conocimiento. There's people who go to college and acquire a whole bunch of knowledge. They're very knowledgeable. You can talk to them, and they're basically encyclopedic. They're like an encyclopedia. Well, tell me about this. And they go blah blah blah. And tell me about that. And they go blah blah blah. And tell me about that. And they go blah blah blah. Tú puedes preguntarle a una persona enciclopédico de esto, dime de esto, y habla. Y dime del otro, y habla. Y dime de aquello, y habla. Tienen conocimiento, right? But then, see, if you look at them and they look at themselves, they're unable to do things. They're unable to, to solve certain problems. See, and that shows you it's not about knowledge only. It's also about intelligence. And then something else, there's another level that the Bible talks about, and that level is wisdom. See. So entonces hay conocimiento, y conocimiento no es inteligencia. So conocimiento, entonces viene otro nivel, inteligencia, que es cómo solucionar los problemas. Porque conocimiento nada más es conocimiento, con eso tú no puedes hacer mucho sino repetir lo que tú conoces. La inteligencia es usando lo que conoces para hacer cosas, crear, inventar, desarrollar, ¿ya? Fundar. So, esa es una persona inteligente que crea, funda, desarrolla, invente. Inteligente. Conocimiento es lo básico. Pero entonces la Biblia habla de una tercera rango que es sabiduría. So then the third part is wisdom, right? So just because you go to the Torah and go to the law does not mean that you will become intelligent or that you will gain wisdom. Because these two other levels require extrapolation and to the ability that you're able to extrapolate and then create, found, invent, develop, then that becomes intelligence. And then from intelligence, you develop, you invent, you create, you develop, invent, develop, create, build, invent. And then from there, you get to have wisdom. See, because you become an expert. Vienes siendo un experto en todas las cosas. Usted sabe cómo las cosas trabajan, cómo se hacen y cómo trabajan. Y ya puedes saber, esto es mejor hacerlo así. Algo así como te digo. Este sabio, se sabe. You see? So, the wise man can really, he just knows how everything will be working out. if you do it this way, that way, whatever, he's pretty much going to figure out it's not going to be exactly the way you think it'll be. But try doing it this way a little bit here and there. That could work for you. So that's wisdom. It's another level. But you'll never be able to get to just thinking of the law, or just thinking of the instruction. Because all that is again, the instruction is not the end. It's not the goal at all. And all you're doing, and who's giving the instructions? That's the other problem that you have. ¿Quién está dando las instrucciones? Las instrucciones lo están dando los judíos. Los judíos, ¿qué dicen los judíos? What do the Jews say? Y los hebreos raíces, y los que quieren ser hebreos, those who want to be Hebrew this and Hebrew that, right? And what do the Jews say? Well, they say, you just have to go by the law. That's the limiter. You just have to do the law. See? So, you can't go to the law, because when you go to the law, you're limited. Because that is what they have had for all these years. Not for all the time. There was a time when they didn't have it like that. We're not going to get into that, because I still have to look into that myself. So I'm going to go and look into that. I'm going to see some correlations on that. But that's for another study at another time. Voy a investigar más sobre el tiempo que los judíos no tenían esa ley establecida de que solamente puede ir por la seguir la instrucción como es, y eso es nada más, no tiene que pensar ni nada. So voy a investigar más sobre eso para ver, porque había un tiempo que no tenían ese reglamento, right? Y había pensamientos, había extrapolación. All right. So we're going to leave that there. But the point is that most sources of Hebrew thinking and Hebrew teaching, in terms of biblical Toraric teaching, are going to be limited. They're going to teach within it, within that instruction, the limiter or the delimiter, which means that what you're learning is only to stay with the instruction and to follow the instruction, and that's that the purpose of the instruction is the instruction itself. And so there's really hardly no way, with the caveat, and I'll explain that a little later on, there's no way for you to have the instruction today, traditionally speaking, and derive the benefit, the intended benefit, because all you're doing is having the same thing that Israel did, and it didn't work for them, right? Usted solo va a tener lo mismo que Israel tuvo y no le funcionó para ellos. Okay, so that is the problem. So they went. What happened was, instead of there being a little bit regulation, just to say it in a general term, los judíos hicieron esto al extremo, cerraron toda oportunidad, y eso encerró el beneficio del Torah, y solamente aquellos que son bien brillantes pueden, como decir, tener algún impacto, beneficio del Torah en lo que descubren, lo que inventan hoy día, a través de la historia. So what they did was close that off, and closing that off, they went to the completely other side, shutting it down, that ability to extrapolate, or that license to extrapolate. And then what you have is that only the very brilliant among the Jews at this point are the ones that are able to have some benefit from the encapsulated power and impact of the Torah in their lives, and they're able to that's able to season, if you will, the work product, their thought product, and you do see that that come out. So that's what we're going to see. I'm sure that we're going to see it in what has been shown in Jewish history. So let's look at that. Vamos a ver. And just looking at this Google page, just to get a general overview. And we see a lot of Jewish influences in many things. Let's see first what it says here about the Genesis Prize. It's a organization that recognizes Jewish achievement. Es una organización, el Premio Génesis. Es un reconocimiento para judíos que han demostrado gran excelencia. So let's read what they say. They say here, for generations, remarkable Jewish leaders have propelled humankind forward by discovering cures for diseases. You see that? Developing new technologies, composing musical masterpieces, advancing causes of freedom and human rights, and serving as trailblazers in countless other fields. So this has already been accomplished by Jews, but notice the difference. Notice that I'm going to put you and compare this statement with Exodus, with what God said, right? He said, now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, right? A peculiar treasure for all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Now the question is this describing a kingdom and a nation? That's the question I'm posing to you. ¿Esto describe un reino o una nación? Right? When you read this, reading it, for generations, remarkable Jewish leaders. Okay? So it's not the nation, but it was supposed to be. My point is that, and God's point is that this was supposed to be the nation. It should have said here, my point is that it would have said that for generations, the Jewish people, or even better, the nation of Israel has propelled humankind forward. Amen. Amen. Discovering cures for all the disease. Even cancer's been cured. Developing the newest technologies and the greatest of musical masterpieces. Advancing in all times the causes of freedom and humanity, human rights, right? Having obliterated hunger, poverty, and homelessness, as my 343 initiative does. See, that was supposed to be Israel. Now, that would have been there on Google, which would have been another Jewish thing, right? Amen. Or at least the nation of Israel. This is, if Israel had come out with the proper understanding of holy, si Israel hubiera salido de Egipto con el entendimiento correcto de santo, eso es lo que hubiera escrito allí, en Google hoy día, que la nación, no solamente algunos líderes judíos, sino todos los nación, porque Jehová dijo todos serán el reino de sacerdotes y una nación santa, con la definición correcta de santo. All right, so like I said, now some of you may argue, yeah, but the ones who did other masterpieces, they're Israel too, but they're not, you know, they may have been from the lost tribes or some descendants and this and that, right? But my point was that wasn't the original idea. That's my point. El punto era que ellos tenían que haber hecho eso como Israel, como unido, nación santa, como reino de sacerdotes. They had to do that as the holy nation. as a kingdom of priests, not as now Gentiles, and among the all these Gentile discoverers and technological advances, we have some remarkable Jewish leaders. You see, not that way. It's good. I'm not complaining about it, but I'm just saying that it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be that Israel was going to do everything. They were going to be masters of everything and teachers of everything, establishers, founders of everything. They would have taught the other nations how to do this and this and that. Okay. El punto mío es que, y con la Biblia, es que Israel está supuesto ser el líder en todo estas cosas, todas las... Come on now. You're even looking at the Israeli military. Just a few years ago, the United States sent them some F-16s, I think, and they were being trained by Americans on this F-16, and these guys were fantastic, excelled in them. You know what I'm saying? Especially so, very peculiarly so. So you see that there is something special in the people, in the Jewish people, even still today. There is special acumen, abilities, sharp noodles out there, right? So something is lingering, and you say, well, what could it be that's lingering? It's that the word. You got to understand something. The Word of God is eternal. So the impact and the effect of the Word of God is going to be eternal too. It's going to be enduring for a long time. And that's what you tend to see. You begin to see that in the Jewish people and in the lost tribes. Because, of course, the lost tribes have blessed the whole world in terms of that they came in and they diffused the gene pool of Israel throughout a lot of nations, which is fine. All right? But that was one way to get cognitive thinking out there. So in a way of looking at it, what they couldn't do the right way, God made it happen the bad way, not the best way he wanted, but one way or the other, Israel did go out and teach the whole world, even though it was done the right way. They impacted the world in some brilliancy here. Así que, so no one can say that it hasn't made a great impact in society, even though they didn't do it as a nation of Israel or as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. So nadie puede decir que Israel todavía no impactó al mundo entero, aún no siendo un reino de sacerdotes y una nación santa. Sabemos que cuando Dios le esparció, esa semilla se esparció, esa bendición se esparció también. Now, and there's another reason that we have it, but I won't get to that yet. Let's stay with the Jewish and the impact on the Jewish people. So let's look at that more. Here it goes down to like 10 Jewish Americans who changed history. And the short list here is Albert Einstein, right? El Alberto Einstein, un judío que cambió la historia. Gloria Steinem, Irving Berlin, Jerry Lewis, wow.
but he's done a lot of good things in the world, right? Not just made people laugh, which is a good thing in itself. Elizabeth Taylor and some, I guess, Mark Zuckerberg here, I'm going to guess. All right. Here's it's in an art museum. It's a story, but it's talking about Jewish contributions to American culture and nations. And so aquí hay contribuciones a las Américas, o sea, a los Estados Unidos, a la cultura americana. Then we have another one here from the Fundación Hispano-Judía, the Hispanic Jewish Foundation, contributions of Jews to the modern world. This okay, so that's another place that you all can go see and read. The role, and from Britannica, the role of Judaism in Western culture and civilizations. It's a little different topic there, but it talks about the role that was played. Then we have 7 inspiring Jewish Americans throughout history. 7 americanos judíos de inspiración a través de la historia. Again, just taking a look at the American Jewish population. But in all of this, en todas estas consideraciones, you get some people here, right? Dustin Hoffman, Hank Greenberg, Mandy Patinkin, Alicia Silverstone, Lee Weissel, I guess. So you still have these one here, one there, one there. There are many, but we're talking about over many generations. And the fact is that it's not still what God said of the kingdom of priests. That's what you don't see. The kingdom, and you don't see the nation. So the difference that the Bible's saying that would have happened if Israel had done the right thing and understood holy the right way, the difference would have been that today we would have known Israel as a kingdom of priests. These are a kingdom, all these Jews, all these Hebrews, all these people of God from the chosen nation of God, and that would have affected a lot of things. Even the existence of atheism, perhaps. Aún hubiera afectado muchas cosas el hecho que hubiese hoy un reino de sacerdotes de Israel y una nación santa, Israel, aún impactado la existencia del ateísmo, porque muchos ateos son judíos. All right? So there's a lot of atheism that is comprised of Jews, or at least former Jews, or can you ever be a former Jew? But formerly religious Jews, let's put it that way. Muchos judíos, ¿cómo se dice? Que eran previamente judíos religiosos, ahora son judíos ateos. Pero y muchos cristianos también, que por la misma razón, por la falta de tener la correcta perspectiva y la definición de santo, también son ateos hoy día. So we have that effect also of the word holy, the misdefined word holy, that we have atheist Christians, formerly Christians, who are now atheists. For the same reason, actually. For the fact that the word holy is being misdefined. And that creates a religious environment, a religious culture that is not adequate, not adequately addressing the issues, right? So it's lackluster. That's why we have a lackluster church. And we have lackluster Judeo and Judeo-Christian ideas, lackluster, that are not convincing the nations. And that is because you a lot, just like those other nations and yourself, you only have your leader. You have your Jewish leader. You have some teachers here, some stars. You got Christians, some mega church over here. You got some leaders here, and you have this mistaken culture where there's so many holes in it that it gives space for atheism to thrive. It gives them reason and cause. So that's what's happening out there today. So, el espacio del ateísmo hoy está con los huecos que dejan los judíos y los huecos que dejan los cristianos en el conocimiento, en la inteligencia, en la sabiduría. So in the lacking of knowledge, in intelligence, and in wisdom, you guys are creating little areas where mold and mildew grow. Well, atheism, where they grow. Because there's so many holes, you create more and more space for doubt. More than there needs to be. Because there really shouldn't be all of that. Okay? It really should come down to simply they don't believe. As opposed to those who believe, but not because what you don't do this, you don't know this, you don't. There's so many other holes you guys have. It's just a ridiculous environment out there, and just creates all this atheistic and other problems. Así que todo eso se está creando mucho ateísmo y mucha gente que no quieren ya conocer o saber de la iglesia. That's what's happening. All right, let me have a moment here. One moment, I'll be right back. Okay, so let's continue on to other contributions of our Jewish friends. Look at this. We also see this book. It's interesting. It will be an interesting book to get. And that's the Jewish Contribution to Civilization. Reassessing an Idea. So, I'm not the only one looking at this issue and this reality and actuality. No soy el único mirando este idea y una realidad en sí. So, esto es un libro que está disponible, la contribución de los judíos a la civilización, and so that would be something good to look at. Otros on American culture, la cultura americana. This is a discourse being talked about. The author summed up Jewish contributions to modern scientific progress, welfare, and global health. And so again, the sentiment or the reflection is that it's Jewish contributions to modern scientific progress, right? So que son contribuciones. In other words, that yo siento que los judíos o el pueblo de Israel no hubiese sido solamente contribuidores, sino la mayor fuente de estas cosas, de las curaciones de médicos, de salud, las soluciones de problemas humanos, que el Israel estaba supuesto a ser la fuente. Israel was supposed to be the source of 98% of it. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. And definitely, even whatever truly pure Gentiles who had made discoveries and whatnot, they would have been based on things that Israel had done before. You understand? So yeah, there'd be like no way for any Gentile to have discovered or invented anything without using something that Israel had already done, right? That's the point I'm trying to say, and you don't have that because Israel was not faithful. Así que no se tiene eso porque Israel no fue fiel a los propósitos de Dios. Let's see here. Introduction. Jewish contribution to civilization. No doubt the survival of the Jews as both a distinct ethnic group and a multinational religious community over thousands of years, despite of long, it is just mentioning that it probably has the fact that they had strength or resiliency, or at least God's providence, in surviving so much counter effects and sentiment throughout history, that they're still going and they're still making contributions. And again, I don't think any of these guys are relating the contributions or the academic intellectual qualities to anything in Torah. I don't believe they're doing that, but I know that they could, and it should be, because the Torah does have the stuff of science in it. It just simply does have it. And no one's to say that it hasn't already done that, right? So that's another thing, but I don't want to spend the time now talking about that. Jews and the civil rights movement. I mean, you know, what can we say about this civil rights? Talking about taking that up as a topic. You know, ¿qué podemos decir de los derechos humanos si Israel hubiera estado encargado desde un principio? Tú sabes que en la ley dice que Israel tenía que cuidar del extranjero, right? Porque ellos fueron extranjeros en Egipto, right? So, you know, you got to understand that that Israel was told in Torah to take care of the stranger in their midst, you know, to don't vex them, because Israel had to remember that they were also strangers in Egypt, you know. So you went through this, you suffered. Don't make anyone else suffer. So in terms of human rights, as opposed to what many people say that the Bible is pro-slavery and all this stuff, you're not understanding what the Bible is actually teaching on and why it does it. But we're not going to deal with that subject in this lesson. But the issue here is that God is actually telling the Jews, listen, don't treat other people who are not Jews wrongly. He tells them that. So what are you going to ignore that because it says it's about slavery? And by ignorar, at least cancel the two out, right? But don't just pick up the slavery part and then look here and ignore this part where it says to treat the stranger, you know, with decency and not vex them. So you cannot, you know, you got to figure out if something's going on here, right? Or is this one of the other Bible contradictions? So, you know, la gente dicen que la Biblia promueve la esclavitud. Pero entonces vemos en la Biblia que dice al judío que no oprima el extranjero en sus contornos. So, tú no puedes ignorar eso y solamente cogerlo de la esclavitud, ignorando que Dios dice no oprime al extranjero. Entonces uno tiene que o al mínimo cancelar los dos o decir que hay algún problema que no estamos entendiendo. Quizás no estamos entendiendo lo que Dios está, porque esto es claro. Lo de la esclavitud, entonces, ¿qué es lo que Dios está diciendo? Entonces se hace la pregunta, ¿no? Se investiga. Pero no solo coger eso para criticar la Biblia, condenar a los judíos y condenar a los cristianos, porque su Biblia, su Dios promueve la esclavitud. Eso es injusto y no es inteligentemente honesto, right? Intelectualmente honesto. Es algo mal hecho. All right, so at least we see that as in terms of human rights and civil rights, Israel would have been in the forefront. All of these things. But the key here, not just that they would have been in the forefront, that they would not exist today. Que estas cosas no existirían hoy día. Porque ya hace tiempo Israel hubiera eliminado esas cosas. Israel hubiera estado enseñando sobre esta y amar al prójimo, toda esa cosa que surge como lo mismo de los cristianos en términos de la enseñanza de Jesús, muy cercana, no hay casi desigualdad entre lo que Jesús estaba enseñando y lo que Dios dice a Israel que hacer. Right? No hay mucha diferencia en sí, son igualitos. Entonces tenemos de antes de Cristo quizás 2000 años de enseñanza, vamos a decirlo, cristianas. So what we have here, you have to understand, is that almost 2,000 years before Jesus, already God was teaching Israel, and if they had done it right, would have been teaching the world Christian things. In other words, what Jesus said, love thy neighbor, like this is all in Torah. So the Israel was supposed to be teaching this to all the world already before Jesus came in and then taught the world then. Oh, we got a new thing. It wasn't a new thing. It was the same old thing, except that Israel didn't do their job. So we would have had 2,000 years the world being taught these Christian values, to make it more clearer for our modern day thinker here. 2000 años más tiempo de enseñando las verdades cristianas para que la gente entienda lo que se está diciendo. ¿Y qué tú crees iba a ser el resultado? Estos asuntos hubieran sido resueltos ya hace 2000 años más anteriormente. So we would have been a much more advanced civilization. Nosotros hubiéramos sido una civilización más avanzada. Civil rights, more advanced today. But again, because this was backed up by about 2,000 years, we're pretty much 2,000 years late. So when you look at, and we're now just in 2023, look at it. Nosotros estamos hoy día en 2023. So estamos como 23 años de comienzo. Santo Dios. So if you look at it, we're just 23 years in the process here. There's serious civil rights issues in the world today. And it's that way today because we are backed up by 2,000 years. We're really just 23 years into this. Because the last 2,000 years that was supposed to be before the 2,000 years. We should have been already on 4,000 years of Jesus' teaching that would have started with Israel. Nosotros ya estamos supuestos a estar con 4,000 años de la enseñanza que Cristo trajo, que empezaron con Israel. Pero no lo estamos. So the world is actually backed up. According to what God was proposing, the world is 2,000 years backed up. Now, if you can imagine where we would be in 2,000 years from now, right? That's where we would have been. We should have been now. We would have been now if Israel had stayed faithful and had extrapolated and had developed the way the law, the Torah, was going to help them to understand and to get to. Nosotros hubiéramos estado más 4,000 años ya en el avance de llegar a donde hubiéramos estado si Israel hubiera estado fiel y entendido lo santo y desarrollado todo lo que podían haber desarrollado en estos ya 4,000 años. Wow. That's 4,000 years. And the 2,000 of that we lost. And basically, when Jesus Christ came, he had to start over. He had to start from the beginning. Así que cuando Jesús vino, tenía que empezar de nuevo, o sea, empezar de un comienzo. Tremendo. So it's lost time. So that's the impact of the Israel's failure on the world. Is that we lost time. We lost about 2,000 years of development, and I dare say of a medical and scientific development as well. I will put it out there. I'm sorry. Yo lo voy a poner allí en la mesa que estamos atrasados 2,000 años, because I've always felt it in my being. Every time I sit on an airplane, I feel like I'm in an ancient vehicle. Cada vez que me siento en un avión, yo me siento en una nave antigua. Yo sé, todavía estamos ahí con alitas aquí. I say, and sometimes I question why I feel the way I feel. Alguna vez cuestiono por qué siento como me siento, porque es algo extraño. Algo extraño, pero es que siempre, cuando me meto en un avión, siempre, sin faltar una vez, me siento que estoy en un nave antiguo. Yo en todos los años que he tenido, nunca he podido salirme de ese sentir. So in all the years that I have, I've never been able to shake that feeling that I get when I go on an airplane. I said, this is old equipment here. And it's not that the airplanes are old, it's that we shouldn't be flying with these little wings anymore. I mean, it looks like ancient stuff. You got this propeller spinning as fast as possible just to keep this plane going, And I'm saying, this is so ancient technology. That's the way I look at it. And if it's not that, you see these spaceships, the rockets are burning like thousands of tons of fuel just to get this piece of metal up. It's like, right. That's the feeling I get. I have that feeling. But if Israel had done what they were supposed to do, we would have been more advanced. We've been way more advanced today. I have that certainty about that. Because having the Torah as the instruction, we would have been way advanced. Come on, the Torah is going to create a nation of priests. Come on. There is going to be a scientific and technological advancement when you have a complete nation of brilliant minds teaching all the other human beings here. Come on. The world would have been far more advanced. And that's really the feeling that I get. There's no reason for there to be diabetes, cancer, and all this stupid diseases these days. Someone can cure this. What's wrong with y'all already? Así que ya debemos de estar ya curados de estas cosas, estas malezas. El cáncer, la diabetes. Ya ya tuviésemos ya cancelado todo eso, amigo. Con una nación de sacerdotes. Mujeres, niños, sacerdotes. ¿Sabes lo que? Porque hay que entender, los niños iban a ser sacerdotes. Y cuando ellos llegan adultos, ¿qué, hombre? when these kids that were also priests, because this is a nation of priests, ain't nothing else. These kids were priests already as children. That's like Jesus was teaching in the temple. Hello. Así como Jesús estaba enseñando en el templo de niño, como jamás, vamos a hablar. Israel, los niños, y entonces cuando se grande, ¿qué? Dime, vamos a hablar. What were these child prodigies, all of them, brought to the table of science and medical advancement and technological advancement? Come on. That's what we're talking about here. That's what God was doing. So today we were supposed to be far advanced than we are. And we lost, my estimation right there, just like doing it wholesale like we've been doing it all along here, is about 2,000 years. We're 2,000 years backed up. But in terms of medical and scientific, that's a lot. That's like, those are multiples. You guys can appreciate it. Because go 2,000 years ago, what was medicine 2,000 years ago? It was none. ¿Qué era la ciencia médica 2,000 años atrás? Era nada, era cosa, peligroso. The medicine at that time was leeches, right? They would bleed you. That lasted a long time. If you think about it, they were letting people bleed out to get the disease out of their bloodstream. That's what was happening. And that lasted for a long time. Why? Because Israel wasn't there. Porque Israel no estaba allí. Eso es porque eso sucedió. Estamos atrasadísimos. Okay, so again, that's my other points here. So are you writing these points down? They're good, valid points. We're coming to the end. All right. We have issues of the Justice Department. Would have been another thing. La ley, los departamentos de justicia. Almost in all countries, the recognition of the law of God is practically a symbol of the law of the land, right? So it's pretty much follows that, or at least it gives that as its basis, as its origination. Damos a los 10 mandamientos la originación de lo que es la ley, la justicia en muchos países. Aquí en los Estados Unidos, muchos cortes tienen los 10 mandamientos, o tenían en una vez. A lot of courts had the 10 Commandments statue or something out there. It represented, the law, stuff like that. Other than that other woman, that lady with the blindfold and the scale, whatever. Let's see here. Here, this link is providing an estimate or review Jewish contributions to civilization. And again, what that contributed. It also contributes to the Islamic religion as well. We all know that. The Muslim religion, has its basis within the Judeo-Christian antecedents. Even though they criticize, because they always have to have some credibility, they have to condemn everyone else. But without those, you wouldn't have had yours. You understand? It's like hypocrisy at its best. Not that they're the only ones who do that. The Christians do that too with the Jews, right? So so this is the Jewish contribution to multicultural civilization. Again, they're going to talk about having multicultural realities. Again, what we were talking about, being non-oppressive to the stranger within you. That's a basis for that topic as well. Contributions of Jewish surgeons in the United States. Again, contribution. They're not all of them, but would have been all of it if it was Israel. if Israel had maintained itself. How Jews have made an impact on the modern world. This is a New York Times. It's again a book review of that. So I'm not going into that, but there is enough books out there, enough research, providing a lot of background into that. But again, my point in all of this is that they're looking at these, this one here, that one, that contribution, this and that contribution. None of these books and none of these articles here are pointing out or dealing with what we're dealing with today, and that is what would have been the impact of a faithful Israel and the understanding of holy, as we have been teaching in this holy series, on the establishment of education and the impact of that on every field of science that we know. And again, like I said, we have shown you various ways of seeing that we are backed up. We have lost at least 2,000 years. Nosotros hemos perdido casi, por lo menos, 2,000 años de desarrollo por razón de que Israel falló, no entendió y nunca se realizó la nación santa con la definición verdadera de lo santo. No se desarrolló. Carecemos los 2,000 años desde que ellos salieron de Egipto a Jesús, y Jesús tenía pues que empezar de nuevo, o sea que iniciar el abrotamiento de una nación santa, una nación que enseña, un reino de sacerdotes, ¿okay? Que los católicos, ay, qué bueno enseña este hombre, pero yo no soy católico, right? I'm not a Catholic, but this is a push to the fact that of the kingdom of priests, which is obviously more so than not, because I'm going to say one thing, that we're Christian. Catholic is supposed to be Christian, and so you're getting the credit for being Christian, followers of Christ. A lot of things that a Catholic does is not right, and it's just plain wrong and error, but everybody makes mistakes. Indeed, right? So let's not confuse one thing with the other. But yes, these are the things that the Christian church in general has to recognize and realize, hey, we have to get this right, because if you don't get this right, same thing happened to Israel. You see, they didn't get it right either, and all types of things happen. And and we know that the church, Catholic or Christian of otherwise, don't have the true meaning of holy either. So you guys are in trouble already. Así que los cristianos, los católicos, todos tienen problemas porque la definición de santo todavía tienen lo mismo que tenían los judíos y que tienen y siguen la tradición. Y ya hemos visto la destrucción que viene, porque es la falta de educación, la falta de entendimiento. So we see the lack of education, the lack of understanding that comes from the wrong understanding of holy, and what that has already caused. It caused a great number of atheists to blossom. Ha causado mucho ateísmo de brotar y florecer, and a lot of other things. So we've already seen that has damaged this thing for a long time. It's really crippling society. Y está, ¿cómo se llama eso? Está deshabilitando la sociedad. So yeah, they had 2,000 backed up, and then these last 2,000 has been troublesome. It's been difficult. Estos últimos, hemos perdido 2,000 años, y ya los 2,000 años desde Cristo a nosotros hoy día ha sido dificultoso. No ha sido, como se dice, perfecto, ha sido bien dificultoso, bien elaborado. It has been laborsome. And, I think this teaching's come out at a precise moment. Creo que esta enseñanza ha salido en un momento preciso para que en estos últimos días, so that in these last days, como se refina la maldad, like the evil is being refined, that also now the teaching, the true Christian and true biblical Christian, is now also being more refined to overcome that the evil refined. You see, because where the grace abounds more so, where evil abounds, the grace will overtake it. And this is why this teaching is right at the moment. Por eso esta enseñanza es al momento muy clave, porque la maldad se está perfeccionando. Ahora la enseñanza tiene que perfeccionarse y eliminar los debilidades de la enseñanza, que empieza con no entender que santo no es algo así de reverencia, sino es algo de enseñanza. Y si vamos a ser un pueblo santo, y si somos santos, tenemos que enseñar. Eso es, no solo quedando ahí, yo soy santo, yo voy a tapar los ojos, yo soy santo y santidad a Jehová. Y eso es el error que se está haciendo todavía hoy día. Y el mundo sigue en una perfección de maldad y la iglesia está debilitada. So what we're seeing today is that the Christian is like he doesn't want to see the true meanings of holy. You're not listening to this. This is pivotal teaching. Because this is going to change the Christian from being this, I'm just a holy man, we'll be holy and we'll pray here and just be holy and be to myself, the world's going lost, let it go lost, into a light into this world, as Jesus said, and impact this world and change it still, so that those that are to come in last, these final days, can come in. Instead of the churches, I hear so many churches closing. Oigo tanto de iglesias cerrando. Lo que deben estar ganando los almas, los últimos que vienen, que van a ser rescatadas. So that's really what this teaching is. I realize what it is. I recognize it for what it is. And this is absolute necessary for every Christian. Y esto es una enseñanza necesaria para todo cristiano. Amen. And you want to hear about my church? What my church is? Mi iglesia es todos los creyentes verdaderos en toda la tierra. My church is all the believers, true believers in all the world. That's my church. And I am the pastor. I'm teaching you. So listen up. Mi iglesia son todos los creyentes en el mundo y yo soy su pastor. Y escucha, aprende y vamos a alcanzar las almas en estos últimos días. Let us gather together, brethren, to save this world, to save those last souls before the church is finished with its work. God bless you and God keep you. Dios le bendiga y Dios te guarda a todos en el nombre de Jesús. Amén. Praise you. Thank the Lord and thank you for watching.